Well, yeah. I mean, I remember some of our earlier interviews. I remember I'd bring up Drake. And I remember one of your famous lines was, there's gay, there's straight, and there's Drake.
Fantastic line.
Because I always say it's 3 sexual orientations out here. It's gay, straight, and Drake. And Drake is just a whole different type of breed. It don't got nothing to do with nothing other than he's just a different type of breed, man. Stop being so sensitive, dog.
Fantastic line. But I remember that was the line that when I was in New Orleans, Drake's crew, approached me on. It was like, oh, I heard you talking shit about Drake. And I'm like, okay, y'all probably talking about the Charlemagne shit. You know what I mean? Because I've never said anything about Drake, but they're probably talking about that interview. And it's like, it's interesting seeing the progression where you were really at the shock jock that I don't give a fuck, back then. Now it's a little more tempered. And, some people might like the old Charlemagne. Some people might like the new Charlemagne. When I look at like academics, he reminds me a lot more of the old Charlemagne. We'll see where academics is in 10 or 15 years. He may be, a lot more tempered, a lot more calm, or he might even be crazier. Who knows? But in your case, I could see the growth and everything else like that. And I'm sure, you could get much bigger numbers if you were still the old Charlemagne. But
no.
It might close. No, you don't think so?
No, I think I got much bigger.
I don't know. I think you will. I think
the audience,
being the old Charlemagne.
The audience is way bigger now, and the reason the audience is way bigger now is because I grew up, and when you grow up, you have more things to talk about. When you grow up and you got 4 daughters, and you've been going on a journey of healing within yourself, and you start having conversations about mental health and even politics. Like, people say what they want. The Breakfast Club and myself, we grew tremendously when we started embracing those political conversations. Like, it's one thing to be featured on, VladTV and the World Stars and all that. That's great. That's culture. But man, what about when you on CNN all the time? What about when you on MSNBC all the time? What about when you on Fox News all the time? What about when you talking to people who we're talking to former sitting presidents like President Barack Obama? We talked to now the president, Joe Biden. Joe Biden gave us a moment that's going to be in history forever when he said, if you don't know whether to vote for me or Donald Trump, you ain't black. Like, that shit was being used in Republican campaigns against him. They still bring that up now. You're going to see that resurface from now until 2024 when Joe Biden runs again in 2024 for president. The Kamala Harris, talking about smoking weed in college, and, they misconstrued her words and had her saying that, she was smoking weed with Tupac or whatever. Or when Kamala was on my, late night talk show, Hell of a Week, and she, told me to stop acting like a Republican, and she got at me a little bit because of my line of questioning. Like, that's a different audience. Like, I love hip hop. I am hip hop to death. But man, a lot of times, man, in this space that we're in, hip hop, the things that we care about, bro, don't nobody care about that shit but us. Like, it's a very niche thing in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong, hip hop is definitely pop culture and it's the most popular culture, but a lot of this shit, Vlad, that we talk about on a daily basis on the regular, don't nobody care about but us. And if you step out,
that's true.
If you step outside and you have a conversation with somebody, they won't know what the hell you talking about. When we talk about numbers, yo, man, all the Breakfast Club has continued to do is grow. Like, back then when I was doing all of that wild shit, we didn't have 8 million monthly listeners. You know what I'm saying? We weren't nationally syndicated in 100 plus markets. We weren't getting 15 to 20 million downloads a month on our podcast. The reason the Breakfast Club and myself have continued to grow is because we're not limiting ourselves to one genre. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. That was always my fear growing up, because I saw the ceiling for a lot of hip hop personalities. Like, I saw the ceiling. I saw when the ceiling happened. I saw when, these people put themselves in a box. And I refused to be that. I'm not about to dye the beard. I'm not about to put my hat on backwards. I'm not about to be yo-yoing and acting like I know what's going on with little, young shorty such and such. Like, nah, I'm not doing all of that. If it's not organic and natural to my everyday life, I'm not about to wake up every day and front like it is. And if it ever got to that point, I'll be willing to walk away. But what I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to push the culture of hip hop forward. I grew up on Public Enemy. I grew up on Goody Mob. I grew up on Outkast. I grew up on all of these people who talked about things of socially redeeming value. Like, you don't get to be Jay-Z or Nas or any of these people who've had these 25, 30-year careers if you just keep doing the same thing. Even when we talk about rappers, you saw ceilings for rappers because rappers would be 40 plus, rich as fuck, still talking about the hood, still talking about street shit. And you wonder why nobody's connecting with your music anymore, because we know that it's not believable. When you look at somebody like Jay-Z, Jay-Z has evolved every single step of the way. I remember hearing the 444 album on my 39th birthday. That album came out on June 28th, 17, right? That was my 39th birthday. I turned 39 on June 29th. I remember leaving the party I was having on the roof, just a little small get together. It was me and like Jesus and Mero and there's a few friends. There wasn't a lot of people. And I got into the car and I couldn't wait to throw 444 on. And all I kept thinking was, this is the soundtrack to my life right now. This is where I'm at in my life right now. Fatherhood, therapy, big black-owned businesses, you know, trying to be a good husband to my wife, addressing my infidelity, things like that. Like, that's where I was at in my life right then and there. I'm not looking back. If you're looking for the old Charlemagne, then y'all got to go on YouTube. You know what I mean? Because why would I go back when I'm doing better than I ever have been?